여러분, 의도치 않게 고스트 투어를 하러 왔습니다. 겁나 쫄아 있습니다.
Okay, again, good evening. My name is Christine. I'm going to be your after dark tour guide this evening. Just to go back over, please don't stray from the group. We've got another group going out at 5:30, so we just kind of need to keep up. We'll be on quite a tight time frame. So yeah, so we just need to sort of all stay together, try not to spread out too much. Now, a few rules. Be careful, we have these are just baby drains. We've got very deep drains up the back and nothing is fenced here. You can see, you know, we've got slippery surfaces. There'll be a few critters around tonight. So it is important just to stay on the road, on the pathway. Just follow me. I have a torch. Prefer it very much if you don't use your own torches. We have these lanterns I will give out. There is no videoing. I do absolutely insist that you take some photographs because those smartphones are appropriately named smartphones. They're very good at picking up things that you possibly won't see with the naked eye. And I can assure you I have seen many results. No videoing though, no at all. And just when it comes to flash photography, that is fine, but just try not to, as it gets dark, it's really annoying if it's done in your face. So no flashing anyone in the face, okay? And of course no smoking or drinking. If you're in a camper van, don't sleep in the car park because they'll shut the boom gates, you'll get locked in tonight. So now I just have to distribute some lanterns. I need one up the front. Is anyone willing to take a lantern up the front here? Do you want to do that?
Sure.
Okay, alrighty, thank you. What's your name?
Anne-Marie.
Anne-Marie, and we need one on this side. Anyone down on this side? Okay, switch to the smallest. If you can just stay on the side, what's your name? Bill? Okay, so manage my brother. No, stay together. Older.
No flash on me.
Okay, so are you related to
Yes,
Bill?
that's what I was saying.
Yeah, you can walk with him, okay? Someone on this side? Okay, just need the, and you take care of that. Sorry, your name? Jeff? And somebody right down the back. You doing down the back? Okay, so Jeff, when I see you, I'll know that there's no one behind you. So let's just stay within the bounds of these lanterns. Okay, another person on the side. Would you like to do that over here? Okay, it's important just to hold them down low, okay? It's not about holding them up here, it's about lighting up the drains. So if you can stay about midway down the group, just down a little bit further, and just stay on the side. If you get sick of doing it, Bill, we'll just pass it on, or, we'll redistribute the lanterns. Pass it on to you, okay? Well, I'm a bit worried you might fall down a drain. Okay, let's get going. Thank you.
사람이 많아서 2,000원 다행이다.
대가리 방수.
왜 똥 쌌어?
이미 꺾어 싫잖아. 사람들 많이 많죠. 우리 제작진들에서 맞아 한마디도 안 해.
사진 찍어.
Okay, you passed your first test, Lantern Bearer. No floggings tonight. You're safely home. Come right up off the path. Don't want anyone just to back into the garden. Beautiful gardens. I've been walking up here for 100 years and it never ceases to amaze. Gorgeous plants in there from all over the British Empire with all that interest in everything botanical. They brought back plant specimens from South Africa and India and South America. Very exotic space. So just in case some of you were not on site today and you don't know how this place got set up, I just really do need to give you a little bit of a pocket history. It started life in 1830 as a timber getting camp. Now, the British were scouring the empire for any source of lumber. They needed to rebuild their fleets after the Napoleonic Wars, and here in Tassie, and particularly on the peninsula, they really struck pay dirt, because what we grow are magnificent eucalyptus, and that would be primarily stringy bark and blue gum, perfection for boat building. Absolutely massive trees. They would have been 5, 6, 7, 8 metres in diameter, 40, 50 metres tall before the first break, and straight as a die, absolutely. And the British, well, they'd never seen such stupendous trees. Sort of what was logged here, straight back to Britain. We rebuilt those fleets, and we also ended up with our own dockyard. Now, this is an extremely important maritime settlement in the history of the British Empire. Out here at Mason Cove, that harbour, beautiful harbour, that is like the front door to Port Arthur. Everything that comes in here or leaves here in those days came by ship. There were no roads down on the peninsula here until the early 1900s. So, convicts, down here, up into the forest, in those heavy leg irons. And those leg irons, did you try them on in the gallery? I mean, kilos of leg iron weight, all bolted on by a smithy. You can imagine how dangerous it was doing hard labour. Many convicts were crippled for life as a result of having to work hard labour in those leg irons. You know, they're bolted on, so you've got bits of metal and rivets and screws and things digging into your ankles. And many convicts were killed as a result of tree felling, an extremely dangerous occupation. Imagine trying to get one of those monster trees down with basic axes and saws. And then they have to manhandle it out of the forest and bring it down. Everything you see around here on this peninsula is, they're all juveniles. You know, in the 1890s there were 2 massive bushfires that raged through this site within 2 to 3 years of each other. In fact, all the peninsula. That is when a lot of the destruction happened here. They took out a lot of the trees and of course a lot of the buildings here on site. So everything you see is relatively new growth. So my purpose tonight, well, you know, this is an interesting site. If you've been here today, you would have had a taste of it. Everything I will tell you tonight is all written down. It's all being documented. The British were very good at writing things down. I know that you're here because you are curious. Maybe you've had a ghostly experience yourself. Maybe you've lived in a house that was just a little bit left of centre, or maybe you've had something a lot more positive, a positive encounter. Well, I can tell you that over the last, certainly, let's just talk about the last 5 or 6 or 7 years, thousands of people have had experiences here. And those thousands of people are people who've taken the time to write back and let us know what they were. So, look, really, since the, 1835, thereabouts, when they started to really record things, this place has been consistently haunted. And I fall into that category. Edgar Allan Poe once said, famous writer, he once said, I don't believe in ghosts, but I'm afraid of them. Well, I kind of fall into that category because I am amazed at what I see. Like I told you about those smartphones, little things that people tell me, and I'm going to share some of those stories. The stories I will tell you come from those times and from more recent times. So I'm just going to mix them up for your benefit. And the types of experiences people have here are varied. The sandstone, it holds, it smells. People might smell something. They might see something in the camera, just this sort of ethereal wisp. They might feel something more concrete. It might be something a lot more physical. The thing I find fascinating is that people see the same things in the same places. They're duplicated. So what someone may encounter over in one of these buildings is never recorded in any other building. So I find this truly fascinating. So I'm going to share some of those stories, and somehow, they fit seamlessly into this place. It was a really tough place. It was a place for secondary offenders. So don't make any mistakes about these blokes down here. Nobody was transported here directly from elsewhere in the Empire except for a few political prisoners, primarily Irish rabble-rousers. Otherwise, you would have had to have committed a crime in any Australian colony to end up down here. In the time it remained open, 1830 to 77, 12,500 sentences were handed down, but that was only 7,500 men. For many, it was just a revolving door. Many of these convicts, of course, were transported for what we would consider today to be fairly minor crimes. But then the British, they needed to colonise Australia. We needed young fit men down here to do all the hard labour, the coal mines, all sorts of activities here, tree felling, and there's not enough young fit men around. So transport them out, take the pressure off their own prisons and send them out here. But like I said, for many a revolving door. Many of these convicts are on their first probation stop. They've done their hard time. They've done 6 or 7 years. Then they go up to Hobart Town, bingo, they bash someone or steal something, back down they came. We also ended up with some of the toughest characters. Could you just drop that light a little behind, thanks? Just right, really bright. The toughest characters from some of the worst penal settlements in the whole of the Empire, and that would be Sarah Island in Macquarie Harbour on the west coast of Tassie, Maria Island on the east coast, and Norfolk Island off the coast of the mainland. They were called the Lions, and they'd been in the system for decades, so they joined the lesser offenders as well. And I will speak some more about them as we move around. So let's get going. There's probably no better place to start a ghost tour than in a building that was actually baptised in blood and ended in fire. That would be the Port Arthur Historic District. Let's move on. a fairly basic timber getting camp, rapidly turned into quite a populated industrial estate. I mean, the authorities realised this would make an excellent prison. Why? Because you don't need any walls here. There are so many hindrances to escape. I mean, those forests I told you about, there's no fresh water out there, there's nothing to eat. You're in those leg irons trying to rattle your way through the bush. There's 45 metres of deep, dark, cold, supposedly shark-infested water out that way, and there's a dog line and a big contingent of soldiers at Eagle Hawk Neck. So basically the whole of the peninsula became a prison. So not just this area, but very, very